Hello friends, welcome back. In the previous class, we have seen how do we create a point structure and use that in the circle structure. And we have seen what happens when this line will get executed, and that is the current status of the memory. This is how it looks, guys. Let us proceed and get some more information. Let us proceed. Now what we are going to do in this class is we step one more step further. Okay, we put one more step further. Now we are going to understand up to here. We have already understood this part, so I am not going to explain that. Okay, I am going to explain these three lines. What happens when these three lines will get executed. Okay, so I copy this code, I come to paint and I just paste over here. So let us understand what happens here. We start from this point. So control is going to execute this line now, right? Up to here we have seen this is the status now. So P1 is the first point P1. Okay, it creates a P1 as P1 is of reference type of class type. So point P1 will be created. The memory location is going to be known as, this one is a P1 memory location, good, and let's take its address is something like #2. okay, no problem. Then it puts the value inside it, null. Can you see here? So it just creates a P1 with the value null. Whereas here we, in one line, we have done this complete process. We have completely created and initialized. Here only we just declared the P1. We have not instantiated. Okay, there is a difference between declaration and instantiation, guys. Okay, instantiation means creating a new object and assigning its address to the variable. That is instantiation. If you just say point P1, it's just declaration or creating a single variable. That's it. Because in interviews and all, they will say something like this. Okay, just declare one point P1. Do not instantiate it. Okay, something like that they say. Please remember these terminologies. That's good. After that, what happens? We are going to execute the next statement. P1 equal to new point. Now P1 has to be assigned from the right hand side. So first the new keyword is going to get executed. What new will do? It will create a data structure of type point. But you can see, of course, the point has two memory locations and it creates on the heap as it is a reference type. Remember that. It will create the memory location on the heap, that you should not forget. It is going to have two different parts, one for X and one for Y. And let us take its address is #10 or something else, #20. I give the memory location as #20. That is the P1 object. Now it is going to call the point constructor. So we will be passing one extra parameter there. And what is that, guys? It is the address of newly created memory location #20 we pass. After that, what happens? We know that the control will jump to the point constructor which takes two parameters and it has one extra parameter that is of same type, point this, which is a reference type. Now you can see that we will be having the point constructor on top of the stack, and it is going to have three memory locations, X, Y and Z. So you are going to have three memory locations, one for X, one for Y and one for this. So this one is X, this one is Y and this one is this. And here you can see we are passing 100 to X. X is going to have the value 100, good. 100 we are passing to Y. Y is going to have the value 100. #20 we pass to this. So this is going to have the value #20. And it starts pointing to #20 memory location. That is this memory location. After that, the inner statements are going to get executed. This dot X equal to X. This dot X has to be the X, so it is going to become 100. This dot Y equal to Y, so this dot Y equal to Y makes the Y 100, good. After that, we know that we have one extra line, return this, which returns the value in this variable, and the return type is of type point, and we know that point is a class, so it's a reference type. It returns the address back. So we get hash 20 back in this place, and that hash 20 will be assigned to P1. You can see what happens in 2 steps. So now what happens here, it is going to have the value hash 20, and once you store the address, it will start pointing to that memory location, and as we have come back, you will not be having the point constructor on top of the stack. You created a point, guys, on the heap, and the P1 is pointing to that memory location. After that, what happens? It executes the next statement. Circle C2 is equal to new circle P1, 100. So first, circle C2 will create one memory location for us, and that is named as C2, and its address, let us take hash 3. After that, the new keyword is going to get executed. What new will do? It will create an object of type circle on the heap. So let me take this and move it little bit down, still down, so that we get some space. Now what happens? You can see, guys, what happens is this circle, okay, we have to create a circle now, same like this. So it creates a memory block. Let me create a memory block here. I think I can put it a little bit down, and this memory block, let us take, has the address hash 30, hash 30, and of course it has circle has two variables. One is center, another one is a radius. So it creates 2 memory locations, one for center and another for radius. So let us write here center, C-E-N-T-E-R, center, and this one is R-A-D-I-U-S, radius, and here it is going to have the default value null, and the radius is going to have the value 0. So this is our circle, guys, as we have here also we have that one. That is what happens when the new keyword will get executed. After that, we are calling circle constructor. We are passing the P1 and we are passing 100. We will pass one extra parameter, that is the address of newly created memory location hash 30. What happens? You should understand here. The control will jump to the constructor which is asking for a center and the radius. Now what happens? The center is going to come, the center constructor is going to come on top of the stack, that is circle constructor, not center. Circle constructor will come on top of the stack, and it has center, radius and circle, C-I-R-C-E-L, circle this. So it creates 3 memory locations, one for center, one for radius and one for this. So here we have one for center, which is of type point. Of course it is already having the value null. Another one is the radius, the value 0, and the circle this, which has the null. And now we are passing the value anyhow. So we are passing P1 to the center. And what is P1? P1 is of point type, and point is a class. Class is a reference type. So we are passing the address hash 20 is going to store in the radius. So here you are going to have hash 20, guys. And we know that once you store the address, it is going to start pointing to that memory location. And where it is going to point? It is going to point this memory location, which is the address hash 20 it has. Now you can see that our center is also going to point to this P1 memory location. Good, that's good. After that, we are passing 100. 100 will get stored in the radius. So radius is going to have 100. Good. Hash 30 will be stored in this variable hash 30, and this is going to point that memory location, which is having the address hash 30. After that, inner statements are going to get executed. This dot center equal to center. So what we are doing, guys, this dot center, so this dot center, guys, this dot center is equal to center. So what happens here, your center variable, this pointer where it is pointing, is now going to have the address hash 20 inside it, and it will start pointing to that memory location. After that, this dot radius equal to radius, this dot radius equal to radius is going to make this 100. After all the statements have been executed, we will be having one extra parameter, one extra line there, that is return this. Of course, we have a return type here, circle, circle, of same type, right guys? Circle, circle. So circle is of type class, is of type reference. This is going to return the address back to us, and this is having the value hash 10 and hash 30. Hash 30 will be returned back and assigned to C2. Okay, so now the circle constructor is not going to be on top of the stack. You are not going to have this on top of the stack, and hash 30 will be assigned to C2, hash 30. And what it does, it will start pointing to that memory location. And now this is our C2. This is C1, this is C2. One thing you need to note here is that your P1 is also pointing to this memory location. And here we have no extra variable called P1 which is pointing to this memory location. Now you people need to decide whether you want P1 or not. If you want the P1 to be pointing to this memory location, you have to create in this way. Actually, we don't need this, right guys? We don't need this. Let us take, you want to modify this variable, only this part somewhere else, then you can use the P1 for just reference. You can modify this memory location now by two variables. You can use the C2 as well as the P1. Any one you can use. You can go to C2 center to here, or you can directly go from P1 and modify this one. But one thing you need to note, if you use P1 and modify this one, center of the C2 is also going to get modified. Or if you go to use the C2 center and modify the X value, if you go take the P1 and take the X, if you try to access the X using the P1, then you will get that modified value. So that is important part you need to understand. That is an important part guys. And let us see that one so that we get an idea. So let us save and come back to Unity. Nothing we are displaying, so let us display some information on the screen. Debug.log c1.x, not c1.x. I cannot get c1.x. I want to get c1.center.x. This is how you are going to access now. C1 is our object. It has a point called center. It has the property called x, or the field called x. We can see the result on the screen, and I can display the y value, c1.center.y we can display, and we can even display the c1.radius. I hope you guys will understand now how do we access the x and y values of the circle. Guys, let us save and check out. Now what is the current status of our C1? C1 has the x0, y0, radius 0. So we should get the output 0, 0, 0 on the screen. If I run the code, you can see 0, 0, 0. We got 0, 0, 0. Nice guys. When you say debug.log, you are telling that go to C1. The control will be here. Then you are telling go to center. Okay, center is here. Go to X, you are getting it. So you can see that how do you access the memory location. So if you want to get the Y value, you have to say C1.center.y. If you want to get the radius, you can simply say C1.radius. One step. Okay guys, I hope you guys have clearly understood this part. Let us proceed for the next step. So here we know that it creates a point. I can display here debug.log. I can display p1.x because it's just a point. I can display debug.log p1.y. You can access as x and y are public. We can access. I'm going to remove this one because we know now what happens there. So I need not to explain that. So here p1.x should be 100, y should be 100. Correct or not? That is what we have here. If I have to access this memory location, I can say p1.x, p1.y. So 100 and 100 we should get on the screen. If I run the code, you can see that we got 100, 100. That is good. So using p1, I am accessing that memory location. I can even access using the circle now. So I say here debug.log c2.center.x will give me the x. Debug.log c2.center.y. If I save and run the code, you should see again 100 and 100 here. If I run the code, 100, 100, 100, 100. So now what we can do? So now we have got p1.x, p1.y center. Now let me show you that. Let me display debug.log c2.radius because I can access the radius of the c2, and which is the radius is we have stored 100. You can see c2 radius. You cannot get the radius by p1. Remember that p1 is just pointing to this memory location. You can get the radius by using the c2 dot radius. The path you should go, the link you can see, okay, the direction. Now we save and come back and run the code. You can see 100, 100, 100, 100, 100. I hope you guys are understanding. Now at any time, if I make the modification to p1.x equal to 200.0f, okay guys, I am going to remove this one. At any time, if I modify by using the p1.x equal to 200, if you display the debug.log, I can display c2.x, c2.center.x. Now what happens? p1.x, what it does, p1.x is going to change, guys, and what we are giving there, 200. So now it is going to become 200. If it becomes 200, you are trying to access this memory location by using the center c2 center x also should show you 200. So here if I say c2 center x, it should show me 200 on the screen. I clear this and run the code. You can see that you have got the value 200. I hope you guys have understood what happens when you are writing a code something like this, and you should remember that two variables are pointing or referring to the same memory location. If you make modification by using one, it will affect the other also. Now let us understand the next code that we have here. So till here we have seen, and this is the current status of our memory. These are all on the heap. Okay, these are all on the stack. Now we are going to understand this line. So I'm going to copy this, come to paint, and I am going to paste over here. So here we have circle C3 is equal to new circle. Let us understand this faster. So circle C3, what it does, it creates a C3 memory location which is of reference type. So you are having here, let us take C3. This is our C3 memory location. Let me take some other color, I think. So let me take this purple color. Okay. So this one is C3, and C3 is having the value null at present, null null. Then what happens? The new keyword is going to get executed. What new will do? It will create a new memory block of type circle. So on the heap, it creates a new memory block, and that memory block is going to have two memory locations, one for center and another for radius. So this memory location is for center and this memory location is for radius, guys. And center is going to have the value null inside it and the radius is going to have the value 0 inside it. And let us take this memory location address is hash 40. After this much, we are going to call the constructor, circle constructor. And here you can see first the inner part has to get executed. The new point has to be get called first. So first the new point is going to get executed. You should remember what new will do, guys. It will create a new memory location of the type point structure, and it is going to pass 400, 500 plus one extra parameter, that is the address of newly created memory location. So let us understand what the new point will do. It will create a new memory location and its address, let us take hash 50, and of course the new point is going to have two memory location, one for x, one for y. So here we are passing 400, 500. You should remember here, guys, the control will jump to this point constructor and it has three memory locations, x, y and this variable already. Okay. So on top of the stack now you have the point constructor point, and it has three memory locations, one for x, one for y, one for this, one for x, one for y and one for this. So here you are passing 400 and 500. So x is going to be 400, y is going to be 500 and this is going to have hash 50, that is the address of newly created memory location, guys. And once you store the address, it will start pointing to that memory location. Then the inner statements are going to get executed. This dot x equal to x. So x is going to become, this is the x position, right? This dot x. Okay, so I write here this. Here this memory location is x and this memory location is y. Just put there. And here this is x and this one is y. We know that. Okay, so this dot x is equal to x. It is going to make this one 400. This dot y equal to y. It is going to make this one 500. After that it returns the this. So this is a reference type. It returns hash 50 back. So hash 50 is going to be returned back, guys. Hash 50 will come and placed over here. That means this place is going to be replaced, guys. Okay, this place is going to be replaced by hash 50. So here you are going to have hash 50. That's good. And once you come back, you are not going to have the point constructor on top of the stack. Now you are not having this available. This is on the heap. That's okay. Now you should understand here, we are calling the outer constructor, that is the circle constructor, passing hash 50 and 100. We will be passing one extra parameter, that is the address of newly created memory location, that is this hash 40, right? That hash 40 is the created memory location by the new keyword. So we will be passing here hash 40. Now what happens, guys? The control will jump to the constructor, this constructor it will go, which is asking for a point and radius and this. So now we have the circle constructor on top of the stack now. CIREL. Circle constructor is on top of the stack. It has three memory locations. One is of a point, another one is the radius and another one is the this keyword. So here you have CENTER, center, and here you have the radius and here you have the this. So first thing you should see here, center is of type point and hash 50 is actually of point. So hash 50 is the address that will be copied to the center. So center is going to have now hash 50, and once you store the address, you should remember that it will start pointing to that memory location. After that, the radius we have passed 100 and that 100 will be stored in the radius variable. So here the radius is going to be 100, and this is having hash 40. So hash 40 is going to be stored in this variable, and we should know that it is going to point this hash 40 memory block. After executing, it will start executing these inner statements. This dot center equal to center. You should see here, center is a reference, this dot center is also reference. So address will be copied here. Whatever the value in the center variable will be copied to this dot center. This dot center is going to be the center. So now what happens? This is not going to be the null. It is going to have the value hash 50, guys. And we know that once you store the address, it is going to start pointing to that memory location. After that, this dot radius equal to radius. So what happens? This dot radius is equal to radius. So here it is going to be 100. So radius is now 100. That is good. Then that's it. After that, you will be having return this. What return this will do? Hash 40 it will return back. That is the address. So hash 40 will come back in this place and stored in the circle, that is C3 variable. Now what happens here? C3 is going to have hash 40, and it will start pointing to that memory location. And you will not be having the circle constructor on top of the stack. You are not going to have this. Now you can see that you have created a C3 which has something like this, and there is no extra pointer pointing to this memory location. Very nice. I hope you guys have understood what this will do. It will create a new memory location, that you should understand, a new point, and it returns the address hash 50. That is the address of the point it will return, and that hash 50 will be taken to somewhere else, wherever you want. Okay guys, I hope you guys have understood all these three different ways of creating the circle. Key most important thing, remember this part. Okay, that is also important. So I hope you guys have understood how the flow is, how it executes. Please understand these things are very, very important, okay, to make complex codes or your games or any simulations. Definitely they are useful. I hope you guys have understood clearly. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. See you in the next tutorial. Keep learning, keep coding.